An interesting backstory.
I think it's important that everybody knows about the Wizard of Oz.
A professional with decades of experience in her field.
I'm a psychotherapist who works pretty much exclusively with law enforcement officers, as well as other first responders.
Strong opinions and a definite point of view.
What people see on the streets, this job, is not normal.
Brutally honest and funny.
When I get a call in the middle of the night and they've been drinking beer, they're normally crying over a relationship. When they're drinking Jack, they get on the phone and they start off with, "Hey babe."
She identifies problems, probes, pokes, and makes you think.
So if something happens to your family, which is truly your biggest fear, and you haven't thought about every single potential of what could go wrong, then you feel like you failed.
She has her own special style.
You're either part of the problem or part of the solution. Pick a side.
Welcome to StephTherapy911 with Stephanie Samuels.
Welcome to StephTherapy911 with Stephanie Samuels. I am a police psychotherapist who deals pretty much exclusively with law enforcement officers in New Jersey and also licensed in Oklahoma. And today I am truly honored to be here with Lieutenant John Hayes, kind of amazing Lieutenant John Hayes. I want to give you a little bit of background on John. Lieutenant Hayes is a 24-year veteran in law enforcement and is in his 19th year with the New Jersey State Police. Lieutenant Hayes' career started as a Class 1 and Class 2 Special Law Enforcement Officer in Sea Isle City, New Jersey. He then became a police officer for the West Cape May Police Department before transferring to the Longport Police Department in Atlantic City. Lieutenant Hayes was class president for the Cape May County's 11th municipal class as the first alternate route recruit. Lieutenant Hayes pursued his lifelong dream of becoming New Jersey State Trooper and entered the New Jersey State Police Academy's 120th class in September of 2000. Throughout his career, Lieutenant Hayes has always focused on investigative fields, working in narcotics, violent crimes, and spending the majority of his career in the fugitive unit, where he rose from detective to the rank of lieutenant. Lieutenant Hayes is the coordinator of the New Jersey State's Crisis Negotiation Team, Central Region, and also regional peer within the state police. Lieutenant Hayes is the first openly gay male New Jersey State Trooper and also the LGBTQ, sorry, John. It's like Alphabet City here with the state police. As the LGBTQ liaison, Lieutenant Hayes has worked closely with the LGBTQ organizations and is a co-chair of the LGBTQ Law Enforcement Liaison Program that seeks to bridge the gap between the LGBTQ community and law enforcement. As such, Lieutenant Hayes has been instrumental in creating training programs for law enforcement in New Jersey to include the first ever LGBTQ workshops for recruits, transgender awareness, training for supervisors, domestic violence, and the LGBTQ community, and assisted with the LGBTQ training block that will go out to all 35,000 plus law enforcement officers in New Jersey. Lieutenant Hayes has had the privilege to sit on numerous working groups with the Attorney General's office, to include one in which the first statewide LGBTQ directive took effect June 1st of 2020, just a few months ago, titled Law Enforcement Interactions with Transgender Individuals. Lieutenant Hayes is currently assigned to the New Jersey State Police Training Academy and is the first openly gay male instructor. Lieutenant Hayes holds a master's degree from Fairleigh Dickinson University and has a passion for community outreach. Lieutenant Hayes is a certified instructor and train the trainer in cultural diversity, fair and impartial policing, firearms, force on force, and general police tactics. Lieutenant Hayes is also a graduate of the 275th session of the Federal Bureau of Investigation's National Academy at Quantico, Virginia. Unbelievable. Just incredible.
Thank you very much.
That is you. one of the things that I wanted to be able to share, so that if you want to go on Facebook and you want to share this out with everybody, you can go ahead and push share and send this out live. And we always end up recording it so that we send it out afterwards for anybody that misses, because I just think this is so important. And although you train as Lieutenant Hayes.
Correct.
And today, I get John on Zoom.
Just John. Just John.
And, and one of the things that kind of sticks out. So I'm trying to remember when I met you. You'll remember. So what year?
I want to say it was 2004, 2005.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a few years back.
Oh, yeah.
So, Jesus. So we're looking at like 15 years ago, John?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
So one of the things, so you ended up coming in after a relationship. You're going through a really rocky relationship.
Correct.
You had a very limited group of friends who were gay, who were on the job, who you had obviously confided in or what have you. And I remember that one of the things that you and I used to do, depending on what time you saw me, was I'd meet you at the gym because, damn it, we're getting our exercise in.
Yep.
And I remember being on the treadmill and you and I were doing our session and my brother called. I don't know if you remember this. And
I do remember, yeah.
Yeah, and he was just going through a wicked divorce at the time. And he was all sorts of emotional on the phone. And he's like, I wish I were gay. Well, you're next to me. Do you remember this? And I go, it's my brother. He says he wishes he was gay. He's like, we're doing no better than you guys. And I just remember that. And you know what? That's exactly it.
It's funny. Gay, straight, same relationship problems. Doesn't matter.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it just, there are so many different layers to the onion. There's layers to the onion from being the only son.
Yeah.
Having a really close, warm relationship with your dad, with this one minor detail.
Yeah.
You got a gay son.
Yes.
And you've got an amazing son that has this label. So that was going on, a relationship where you really loved who you were with.
I did. I wanted to make it work.
God. And trying to navigate that as people do all relationships. And then adding to it, having to almost hide this mourning process and this loss and this struggle of having been involved in a domestic, not being able to share that. So kind of take us back to going into policing, if you don't mind, and making the decision. At the time, you certainly knew you were gay, and kind of what you thought your career would be like. And really, it was interesting because when you came in, being an openly gay officer was not on the list of stuff that we were going to work on. It just wasn't. It was really relationship or what have you, and kind of the metamorphosis of you becoming more comfortable with yourself.
Because I never knew I could be gay, be open, and actually, be in law enforcement. That was the issue.
And making a decision to really be true to yourself. So if you kind of want to take, because I'm sure that we've got people watching that know Lieutenant Hayes, they know John. They're not so sure they know how John ended up through his journey. Yeah. So, and other people that are watching who are probably struggling with their own sexuality, wondering, how the hell do you do this?
Yeah, no problem. I'm getting text messages about letting people on the Zoom. I don't know if you know how to do that, because I know I don't.
Hang on. They're trying to go into the waiting room. Tell them that they don't go into the waiting room. They've got to go on Facebook to go to StephTherapy911 with Stephanie Samuels, and that's how they'll be able to watch. Otherwise, they literally become part of us.
Gotcha.
So if you can just tell them,
yep,
that would be great. That's good. So we're now down to 5 people in the waiting room. So tell everybody to get out of my waiting room.
So, listen, I always knew I was gay. And as far back as I can remember, I always knew I was different. And, what brought me in to see you was I was in a toxic relationship, and I wanted to make it work. I was not out to my parents. My father knew I moved away. Grew up in South Jersey, and I moved up to Central Jersey. And I, told my father and, my mother that I got a roommate. And we were together for almost 5 years, about 4.5 years. And it was very, very rough because I was not. What's that?
How old were you?
I was 23 when I started a relationship. So I was 23 years old. I was still young. And, from there, I got to see you because I wanted to make this relationship work. And I was definitely in the closet because back then, different culture, different time, being gay was not cool. It wasn't seen on TV as much. And I knew I couldn't be myself in law enforcement.
And you were, by the time you saw me, you were a trooper.
Yes, by the time I saw you, I was a trooper.
So you had already done careers in law enforcement, or part of a career. You then went through, so you had to go through the academy, and then you had to go through a second academy. Because
I've actually gone through 4 different academies.
And you finally achieved what you wanted to. And quite honestly, at that time, being a trooper, there's a certain level of, I'm trying to think of a really polite word for arrogance, but if you want to figure out what it is.
No, you know what it is. It's different. It's different training. And coming as a local cop to go into the state police, I absolutely made the right decision. I grew up in a state police area, so I always saw the blue and gold, and they were my idols, and that's what I saw.
And when
I would be one of those.
I don't really mean you. The perception,
yes,
is because they don't have patrol cars; they have troop cars.
Troop cars. It's a paramilitary, very strict organization. It's called the outfit for a reason. Yeah. Yes.
So kind of somewhat of a different mindset.
Yeah.
And in a certain standard. And you guys, I believe, are the largest police agency. Are you the largest police agency in New Jersey, or is it
outside of the State Department of Corrections? We're the largest police department. Yes, but state DOC is actually the largest.
So absolutely, but there's also the reputation of a real machismo
yes
man that ends up being a trooper.
Correct.
And that dichotomy that exists, it's like it's okay to be a lesbian. Correct. Because it's expected.
It's expected, yes.
And that becomes difficult too, because the bias then exists with females in law enforcement, that the old perception was you're either basically a whore or a dyke, and certainly those titles, those names, and the perspectives. And when you're a man in law enforcement, goddammit, you're heterosexual. So now we take all of this, and we've got to really re-educate perceptions.
Oh, no doubt about it.
And how one does that. And I think you and I were talking just a bit before you came on, is you being a trooper and kind of in your journey there, and how you had accomplished so much as a trooper.
So, I mean, with me, when I became a trooper, I know I wanted to prove myself. I wanted to make it known that, hey, listen, I was worthy of the job and being a detective. I made detective rank very early in the state police. And I was working down in Camden at the time, and, led our squad in arrests. And when I went into the fugitive unit, I was the first guy in on the, either on the shield or the first guy in on any residence that we went into, chasing murderers on a weekly basis. So I wanted to make sure that, my crew knew that I had their back, hands down, no questions asked. I wanted them to know that I could take care of myself and also take care of them. And that was the biggest point.
Were you thinking you needed to do it because you knew that you're gay, or just because it's you and you needed to prove to yourself as that you were worthy of being a trooper?
I knew I could do it easy. No, I wanted to prove myself because I was gay. I wanted them to, when I knew at some point they'd eventually find out. And I wanted them to say, hey, listen, it's okay. You know, John's a good dude. Like, he's got my back. No big deal. I really don't care. And that's what I wanted to do, to do. But me personally, I've always been able to handle myself. So it's never been an issue with me.
So you end up in therapy.
Yeah.
and truly nothing that you ever thought you were going to do.
No.
You end up out of the relationship, really tough kind of go around processing that through.
Oh, it was a nasty divorce. I mean, to give some perspective, when my ex actually spit in my face and said, if I could kill you and get away with it, I would. And I could not report it. I couldn't do anything because I was not out of the closet. If I would have done that, that would have actually, brought everything to light. I was scared to death. So I actually left my home and went to a good friend of mine, to basically seek shelter.
Did he know that you couldn't do anything?
Oh yeah, he held that against me, 100%. Yeah, he had that on me. That's the only thing he had on me was I was not out, and I was afraid to be out because of this thing.
But that was huge. What he held on you, because what you believed he held on you was your entire.
Yeah, correct. I mean, I've never been a victim my entire life. I've always been very well off as far as being able to handle myself, and I felt completely victimized and helpless at that point. It's not a good feeling.
So at some point in time, and I don't think it was, I remember you with the Gay Pride Parade in New York.
Yeah, I marched for the first time in Gay Pride Parade over 10 years ago.
That was in uniform that you marched 10 years ago.
That was in uniform, and that was after I
But before that,
yeah,
there was this real concern about you being down there and marching and being seen. You weren't in uniform.
Yeah.
That I think, were you a member of GOAL back then? Which for
yes,
those
I was a member of GOAL, and that's why I marched, and I still am a member of GOAL, which is a phenomenal organization.
So for those that don't know, GOAL is Gay Officers Action League, which is, I believe, national.
It's national. There's Region 1 is New York City, and that covers New Jersey. So yeah, that's what I'm a member of as well.
So I remember you being part of GOAL now that, but I remember you going down there, and I remember marching, and I remember this, it's not sadness. I think that's a wrong word. I remember this feeling of wanting to be part of that and be real.
Yeah.
Kind of this not hiding these different lives. And kind of your home life and that stuff was now kind of squared away. Therapy, I don't think, was what you thought it would be.
No, not at all.
And so now we're going to cover some other stuff. And the other stuff was, I think I want to be openly gay.
Yeah.
I think I need to be true to myself as I've walked this path in therapy, and I'm learning how to be me, and I'm learning how to love myself, because that's what it is about, because your shitty toxic relationship.
Yep, 100%.
Lovingly was part of you not loving yourself. And almost needing to beat yourself up over being gay, and feeling like you didn't deserve wonderful men in your life.
Yeah.
And kind of once you were able to process that, you weren't done. That really, to be true to yourself meant you were potentially going to buck a system. You were now going to go up against what you believed would be your greatest challenge, and an organization that could take everything from you. And your discomfort hiding who you were became more difficult than your discomfort of remaining in the closet.
Correct. Yeah.
So I remember you and I talking and thinking, shit, how do we do this?
How do we approach this?
Yeah, how do we do this so everybody wins? Because that's the truth. You had accomplished so much. It made it easy. It made that part of it. Nobody could say he's a deadbeat.
Yeah.
You know. So I remember you telling me a story about approaching. Who was it? It was a supervisor. Was it that were you bringing your wife?
Oh yeah, no, and I actually brought my partner at the time, now my husband, to a retirement party. So.
But was that the comment of, are you bringing your wife? And you said, I don't have a wife. And then the comment was, are you bringing your girlfriend?
I don't have a girlfriend.
And then what was his comment?
It's a guy. and that's when usually people's jaws drop and like, okay, I'm sorry.
And that's that whole, he doesn't look gay.
I don't fit the stereotype, and we can talk about stereotypes later because there's so many others completely wrong.
So important to touch on that. Absolutely. So you and I we're a great team,
Yeah.
figuring out how do we do this, and we discussed a whole lot of different options. You did not want to get an attorney involved, and you did not. You made it clear, hey, look, I want to do this. I've earned the merits of being a trooper. I have proven that. And now I want to be able to be openly gay. I want to be able to, I remember Asbury Park had the recruiting. You wanted to be able to recruit. There's just a whole lot that you wanted to be able to do. So what we finally decided was that we were going to, because we had to go through the colonel.
Yes.
So the decision was made that we were going to write the letter, and I was going to sign the letter.
Yep. Right.
And it was going to discuss how that I was seeing a trooper who was gay, who wanted to be able to come out of the closet and be openly gay. You can tell me if your memory.
No, that's
all from mine.
Perfectly correct.
So I don't remember how long it took, but it was pretty quick.
It was quick.
And I think it was either an email or call, whatever it was, where they said that they were going to send the head of their EAP or what have you, that was the decision that was made. Yeah. And I remember saying to you, is because you knew the head of EAP. And I remember saying to you, will he be surprised it's you? And you said yes.
Yeah.
And the way my office is set up is that big armoire. And I remember when he was coming in, and you and I were like, it's like a bad dating game. I was like, ooh, who's it? And he was wonderful.
Yeah.
And that began your journey. So I kind of want you to take it from there, because I only knew what was happening in my office. So kind of talk about now what happens. You have now outed yourself to EAP, so they know who the gay officer is. They know who wants to come out. He's now going to be dealing with the colonel. And I remember the discussions of what is it that you wanted. And what you wanted wasn't anything weird. You didn't want to be able to wear a dress and change the uniform. I mean, whatever their fear or misconception and perception was, that you just wanted to be able to
be myself.
And to be able to march like any heterosexual without fear of any retaliatory action. So go ahead and kind of take us through.
Well, I mean, at one point, I remember coming out to my sergeant, and I did it. It was funny because I thought I could trust him. We were very good friends at that point, and we were actually down in Miami, and I was kind of setting him up because I knew there was a gay bar on the strip, and I was walking up to it, and I wanted to see his reaction once he realized it was a gay bar. So as we're walking up to it, the bouncer actually stopped us and says, yo guys, this isn't probably your type of bar. You need to probably go somewhere else. And I'm like, oh my God, this is a gay bar? Oh, we gotta go. And I saw my sergeant's reaction at the time, and he's like, who cares? A beer's a beer. Like, I don't care what kind of bar it is. And we went around the corner to the Starbucks, and I broke down. And I said, this is who I am. That was a test. I wanted to see how you would react. And he's like, I don't care, dude. He's like, you're my bud. Like, I don't care, what it's like. And that was the first person I ever said to state police, I ever told. And it felt like a huge, huge brick just taken right off my chest. And that was the first start. That was one.
And what a wonderful, wonderful way to begin.
Yeah. And so then we, myself and there was a person from EAP who was a lieutenant at the time, and he was an amazing person. He went with me to the Pride events in Asbury Park, and we set up a recruiting booth with the prosecutor's office, and we tried to recruit people. And we
he
just
was straight, right?
Well, oh yeah, he was straight.
People need to know that because again, the misperception is, well, we've got to get some gay guy or some gay female to go down with him.
Oh, no.
No. This is what we're looking at in our nation right now.
Oh yeah. I mean, he
was able to do this well, and
I mean, he was amazing, still is amazing to this day. And, we did that for a couple years, Jersey Prides, we did it in uniform, a lot of photos taken, everything else. We took road trips together. So he was like my ally. He was my number one ally to help me, on the job anyway, in the outfit. And I remember one time we were there, I think it was like the third time we were in Asbury Park, happened to be the governor at the time, Corzine. And what happens with the governor is the state police executive protection unit is with the governor all the time. So they see me. Now, mind you, I was happy because I'm around my people, but I wasn't around any other troopers. So I felt happy, but I was nervous because they saw me. I actually kind of turned like, oh my God, I don't want them to see me in uniform. Like, I'm not that comfortable yet. Well, my buddy at the time, who was with the Monmouth County Prosecutor's Office, goes up on stage, and he's sort of like the mayor. He knows everybody. He's an awesome guy. And, he gets the crowd going. About 10,000 people outside, and I'm in the back of the stage just chatting with some people, and I hear, I want to introduce you to the first openly gay male state trooper in the state police history. And I'm like, what? And he brought me up on stage in front of 10,000 people, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm definitely, I'm out to people that I know the LGBTQ community, right? I knew a couple people from EPU, Executive Protection Unit, saw it. So I'm like, okay, I need to get ahead of this, and I'm going to get ahead of it because you know what? It's time. I hit my breaking point, right? I've proven myself in my unit. I've proven myself in the state police. I've proven myself in every aspect of my life. So I have to do this for me. And if I'm going to be a happy, productive trooper, I have to be happy with myself and happy with work, right? So then I reach out and I talk to my bosses at the time. I say, hey, listen, it's my lieutenant, my sergeant first class, brought him into unit or into the office. I said, you're going to hear some rumors. I want you to know directly from me that it's true. I am gay. And my lieutenant at the time didn't handle it too well. Actually asked me who was making me do it, making me come out, and then said the only other gay person he knew was a pedophile. And I'm like, being gay has nothing to do with pedophilia. Matter of fact, pedophiles are 90% heterosexual, Yeah. So he just didn't understand. And so I told them. Then I'm like, okay, now I got to tell my sergeants. I got to tell my unit. So I remember my one sergeant was a born-again Christian. I was very nervous. Phenomenal person. He's just heart of gold. But I knew, religiously, that was something that he was against. So I'm down in South Jersey, and I come up to him and another member of my unit, and I say, hey, listen, I got to talk to you. I got to tell you something. Get off my chest. And I said, listen, I'm gay. And that sergeant looked at me and says, Johnny, he's like, listen, whatever you do is between you and God. You're one of the best troopers I've ever worked with in my life, and I go through a door with you any day of the week. You're my brother. I don't care. And I'm like, oh my God. This is like the best feeling ever, right? Because now I'm getting accepted by my peers and by my supervisors of being really who I am. And all we ever want to do in life is really just be accepted.
No matter what. That has nothing to do with being gay.
No, yeah.
All of us so desperately want. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So then I tell my other sergeant, and he comes up to me, and I say, listen, I got to talk to you. And I tell him, hey, Sarge, I'm just letting you know I'm gay. And he looked at me, same reaction. He's like, dude, I don't care. You're awesome. Like, whatever. He's like, matter of fact, if anyone ever says anything to you, and all you hear anything, you let me know, and I'll square them away. So I thought that was awesome. Like, I was getting the backing of my unit, of my brothers in blue, that really had my back, says, you know what, we really don't care. And that started everything going from there. Then I would take my my husband, now was my partner at the time, my husband, we would go to Christmas dinners together. We were a family, and still are a family, and it definitely helped. It definitely helped, mentally. It really did. Help me be really who I am.
It's awesome. Did the colonel ever comment after the letter? I'm trying to, because my recollection, which could be wrong, was that, kind of everybody else dealt with it, but that he never put up any barriers to anything that you wanted to do.
No, very supportive. And to the point where 3 years ago, I was, brought into the colonel's office and asked if I would want to be the LGBTQ liaison. And I absolutely accepted. I said, I was the first and only openly gay male state trooper at the time. Since then, there has been one other person to come out to me and out to the outfit. But yeah, it's been very, very good. There's been nothing negative as far as that goes. I've been very blessed to have the career that I've had. I made lieutenant in the fugitive unit. I left the fugitive unit, went to another unit for 3 years, came right back to the fugitive unit, ran the fugitive unit, and then just came to the academy in May, and to try and do some other things, to work on some trainings.
So, kind of tell me about the stigma, because you've done well, but there's an overall thing. They're saying that you need to refresh. I think. Do you have a refresh on there? I think we're okay.
Okay.
You okay? Question mark. I'm just making sure that we're okay.
All right.
So the stigma, because the stigma exists.
Oh yeah.
And I think more so for males than for females, although I absolutely want you to address that.
So I'm going to address the females because a lot of my friends that happen to be lesbians, they're either sexualized at work, because what straight man doesn't want to get between two women, right? So they're trying to take advantage of at work. So they're either sexualized at work, or they're considered one of the guys, because they can talk about women during a midnight shift, right? So, and we double up at midnight. Males, however, the stigma basically are that males are weak. They can't fight. They can't take care of themselves or somebody else. And that's really the stigma that we got to break. Listen, I've boxed before. I'll tell you this right now, I have no problem getting in the ring with anybody, and I think a lot of people realize that stigma. Hey, listen, it doesn't matter who you love. If you can do the job, you can do the job. It's that simple.
Right.
It's that simple.
Right.
Right.
Police academy experience.
So my experience, again, me being gay, all I thought about was work, 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 work. I was nervous because it was a residential academy, still is, and I wasn't out then. You're talking 20 years ago. So I do realize that if there was somebody out and open back then, it would have helped me be the person. It just would have helped me mentally accept who I was. So
go ahead.
No, so basically I went to the command staff. I said, hey, listen, we need a program to really show the recruits that it's okay to be who you are, and go, and your NYPD's been doing it for years. I took their lesson plan, revised it for New Jersey law, and for this past class, which was back in about 2 months ago, we did the first ever LGBTQ interactive workshop for state police recruits. And it was very, very well received. Matter of fact, a lot of recruits came up afterwards, even after graduation, said it was the best block in the academy.
Wow.
And I actually come out to the class. The class is strictly taught by LGBTQ officers and troopers. and it's interactive. There is some jocularity. There's certain things that we do to get the recruits to understand all about walk a day in our shoes.
So how many have come out since you?
Since me, there's been one other male, and his journey was, he's been in seven years now. When I was named the LGBTQ liaison, probably the very next day, I got a phone call from this person who said, "Oh my God, I can't believe there's another person that's gay in the state police." And we started talking, and we became very good friends. So then last year, June 2019, Asbury Pride, we had a troop car in the parade. We marched, we didn't march, we walked in the parade with our partners and other troopers. We had a contingent of about 8 troopers, and we had a great time. And
none of those troopers were straight?
None of the troopers were straight. What we did is we actually offered it to every single buddy could come and join us, and it was actually your work day. How great is that? This is your work day. So our command staff granted us, this is your work day if you want to come to the Asbury Park Pride Parade. So that was awesome. That was just, hey, listen, it's a great day away, community outreach, get to see a lot of people. And we did. There's a lot of kids that were along that parade route and saw us in uniform. And we're like, Mommy, Daddy, look, that's what I want to be. And it's okay to be who you are. You can do what you want to do. And unfortunately, though, the one trooper that came out, because of social media, there was some pictures taken, and he really got kind of beat up on some closed Facebook groups. However, he got a lot of support, and I got a lot of support, and we got a lot of support from the colonel's office. So that was actually pretty good.
You see, and that's just it. That's just it. When we've covered leadership on the show, and I cannot, and truly leading from the top down and taking care of your own. And the Colonel has done such a good job with that.
I tell you what, we have come, in the 20 years I've been in the state police, we've come a long way.
Oh.
But let me tell you something, though. We still have a long way to go. We still have issues, and we're still pressing forward, and we're doing a good job. We're doing a great job, actually.
But they're allowing you to have a voice.
Oh yeah.
They're not pretending that there's no problem.
No. And I've been very blessed to have a seat at that table. Very blessed to work with a lot of liaisons throughout the state of New Jersey that are phenomenal. And we're providing training not only to local departments, state police, but also to the community, at large.
I always talk about you're either part of the problem or part of the solution. Pick a side.
Yeah.
And you became part of the solution, and you ended up with an agency where the perception is they're rigid. It's you can't be who you are. There's no room for being gay. They've not only removed that, but they continue to work on the solution. We're far from a solution in the country on so many of these issues, but yet if we all work towards a common goal, and the common goal is good policing, is taking care of the public, is doing what needs to be done for a safer, better world, period.
It's definitely 100%. It's definitely taking care of the public, and I agree, we're public servants. We are public servants, but it's also taking care of us. And we have to take care of one another, so we put our best foot forward to take care of the public.
So I want to touch on, because you've mentioned several times about mentally, about how it changed you mentally. I don't think people understand kind of what you went through, what people who are not able to be themselves go through, and what it's like to be congruent, because incongruency, not being true to yourself. So,
every coming out story is different. My story is different than every other person. But if you want to go back and talk about some adolescence and everything else, if you think about it, LGBTQ kids are 4 times likely to commit suicide than straight kids. 4 times. which is ridiculous.
Right.
And it makes me sad. And then if that kid, which still happens today in 2020, believe it or not, is getting kicked out of their house because they happen to be LGBTQ+,
Yep.
then they're 9 times more likely to commit suicide than their straight peers, than straight kids. So there's still issues that we have to fight.
And I know that the Trevor Project has been around for
Yes,
time.
and they do a phenomenal job.
Because I have referred to the Trevor Project for some time. I know that my daughters in school had friends that were struggling with being gay or what have you, and were suicidal. And the Trevor Project is really brilliantly done. And the struggle for somebody who's gay, knowing that they could be disappointing a parent, the acceptance, I mean, all of those different factors, and coming onto a job, and as you say, not being able to talk about your spouse, not being able to, if you're going to be pining over a relationship, you've got to make him or her,
Yeah.
so that you're able to talk about your relationship, except you're forced to change the gender.
You're absolutely right. I mean, listen, especially with us, because we double up at midnight shift, right? So if you're working with a tight unit or anything like that, what do you talk about? You talk about your spouses and everything else. Right. And for years, I couldn't talk about anything. I said I lived with my cousin, and that was it. I was very private. I never went to outings. I just, put my head down and I did my job. That's all I did. I never talked about my personal life. I went to work and I went home. And it's really no way to be. It's really, really tough to be like that.
I mean, just so you know, so some of the comments that are coming through is that how courageous you are, and how much they appreciate you being public.
Oh.
So it's just, it's lovely. So I want to ask you a question that I've never asked.
Go for it.
I was going to say, it's not a curveball.
No.
But you probably knew I was a straight therapist.
Yeah.
Was that a disadvantage? Was it something that you thought about? If you had to do it all over again, would you have wanted a gay therapist? Would you have wanted a man like?
It's funny. When I sought you out, I wanted a therapist that would help me. Now, I remember because I was involved in that critical incident in 2003.
Correct.
And, and I was going through that and the relationship issues. I wanted somebody that knew how to handle working with a cop. To me, that was the biggest thing.
Okay.
And I did not care, straight, gay, did not matter what your gender identity was. Didn't matter, anything else. It just, hey, listen, can you deal with cops? Do you have that experience dealing with cops? Because we are a certain breed. I'm not going to lie. We see the worst of every single day. We don't get called to the good calls. We don't get called when people are happy. We get called when people are dying. And we see death and destruction every single day. And that's what we need somebody to talk to us about.
Yeah. Had you ever thought about that?
What's that?
About the therapist being straight or gay or anything else? Or
no, if I was going to couples therapy, then yes, I would probably want to, I would maybe prefer somebody that knew gay couples or were familiar with LGBT issues. But as far as being a straight or a gay therapist, no, all I cared about was somebody that was actually, willing to be open and willing to understand who we are.
And I think that's really important because cultural competency is round one, but you've got typically conservative values that could potentially play in, so that you need somebody who's culturally competent who also has no issues with being gay.
Correct.
So that, I think, had been vetted for you before you got to me. You knew that I wasn't
Yes, and that definitely helped the decision. But hey, listen, the first step really is knowing you need to get help. And if you can make that first step, I'm telling you, it probably saved my life, because there's times where I was in a dark time, and there's there's nothing wrong with admitting, hey, listen, sometimes life isn't always great.
And one of the things that you've done, which, I talk about all the time, is the importance of an officer, a trooper, an agent, anybody in law enforcement that is willing to out themselves differently. Because I think sometimes it might be easier to be gay than it is to be in therapy.
Yeah.
To be able to say,
right? Yeah.
Right. And you have been lovely with being able to say, hey, I saw somebody still in touch with her, blah, blah, blah. And it doesn't have to be me. It really is. I task everyone that's in law enforcement that has been in therapy and every lecture that I've been able to do to say, are you willing, particularly, you're lieutenant now, particularly in a position that is supervising, are you willing to raise your hand and say, I do this?
Yeah.
I just lectured for Department of Justice for Wisconsin, and I knew that I was lecturing to mostly brass. And that was one of the things that I said, is I said, how many of you are willing to tell your officers that you talk to somebody? I'm like, if you can't lead by example, it becomes very difficult. And Kaplan had taken a call, which was interesting. After that, it was within inside of a day, of a chief who was listening, who had used his EAP and said that he needed a therapist. And the reason why is because he had spoken or he had heard the lecture, and he realized that if he was going to be, true to his troops, that he needed to be able to be in counseling with somebody that he could say, I do it. It's incredible when it works like that. And some of the people who have made it in, but the gratitude that they didn't have to keep looking. There's somebody, as you know, in the recent past, who ended up being federal, who their services weren't there, that were able to connect.
Yeah. And
truly taking care of your brother or sister. It makes no difference. Gay, straight, whatever.
Doesn't matter.
And as you said, that's kind of the first order. The first order is, does somebody get a cop? And then is that underlayer of, because relationship problems are so common, is will they understand kind of the underlying issues of now being in a same-sex relationship and being a police officer in law enforcement in a same-sex relationship, and some of the hurdles that are going on. One of the concerns was almost that this was going to be kind of a bitch fest of, the homophobia, the departments that being skipped over by promotion, and when I had, when you and I had talked about this, besides you being nervous, and not because that you're gay, but just because of being on and like cool, was that you've had such a good experience. There's always room for improvement.
Oh yeah, I can tell you right now, I've had a blessed career, but I fought,
You made that career.
Yeah, I made that career. Correct. Nothing was given to me. We'll set the record on that one. But no, I made the career, and I would not change a thing because I love my job. I made a great career choice going to the state police. I love the state police. I'm true blue and gold, and I want to represent them correctly, and I want to move the division forward, and I want to leave the state police better than how it was when I came in, and that's my mission.
So if you get to, so the colonel calls you in. The colonel says, Lieutenant Hayes, I'm giving you carte blanche. I want you to be able to move us. I want you to be able to fulfill your fantasies, your what you think is the best practices in law enforcement. We want to be the agency. What is it that Lieutenant Hayes would create? Kind of tell me what that looks like for us and what could be modeled throughout the country.
So what I think would be created is actually making sure each agency, especially if you have an LGBTQ community in your department or in the community that you serve, have a liaison. And that's one of the things that we're working in New Jersey. Right now, I believe we're up to 22 liaisons throughout the state of New Jersey. And we have liaisons from Cape May all the way up to Bergen County.
So tell us what a liaison does. Tell us, kind of give me the job description and what that looks like. Are they assigned to a specific unit? What is their, go ahead.
So liaisons are basically, because I'm one, it's just a collateral duty. And you're assigned by your department head, by your chief, and you assist us with training. We go to community outreach events. We are the person to contact in case the community has an issue regarding the LGBTQ community. And the number one really thing is we're actually an internal support network for each other, you know? And then again, it's really going out and working with the community. I got to tell you something that we've gone to Jersey City. We've gone to Asbury Park. We've gone to Montclair. We've gone to so many different places. We work with Robert Wood Johnson Hospital, with the transgender community, and we're doing so many good things. And I really think that if your department or if you have a community in your, within your town or city that has a LGBTQ community, it doesn't cost anything. Appoint somebody that's a liaison. Let them work with us. We usually meet now because of COVID. We usually meet once a month. And we go over, hey, what's going on in your department? What's going on in your department? I mean, we've got Jersey City, we got Newark, we got Middlesex, we have State Parole, we have so many different agencies already involved, but we want more. We want to be involved.
What has been your greatest accomplishment thus far?
You know what? I really think bringing the interactive workshop to the state police, only because 20 years ago, that would have made a big difference to me in coming out. And I'll tell you this, it made a huge impact to the recruit class. Since then, an actual recruit actually came out. And it was amazing to have recruits come up to me and say, Lieutenant Hayes, that was such a powerful block. We've known you for so many weeks kicking our butt in defensive tactics, kicking our butt in physical, in PT, and running around us in circles, and then you coming out to us. I can't believe you're gay. Like, you just erase the stigma. And this is recruits. Right before they graduate is when we do the block, because they're more mature, they're ready to go on the road. Okay? And these are recruits talking. And for us to get that is the satisfaction. So what I want to do now is take that block, and we're working on it, get that block in every single 15 police academies in New Jersey. It's interactive. It's a 2.5 to 3 hour block, and it works. It gets the prospective officers, because guess what? We're getting them when they're joining. So some people, as you know, Stephanie, some people, the dinosaurs like I am now, the older generations have a set mind. Younger generations are more open, all right, to different generation. So if we start them young and just train them how to treat people, okay.
Right.
We also have the first openly transgender police officer in New Jersey from Morristown Bureau of Police, Connor Johnson, and he does a training with us, and he comes and talks to the recruits. And if you've never sat down and talked to somebody that's trans, you're missing out. And that's what we're also doing with our supervision class now in the state police. We actually have a trans person who I love. She comes in and she teaches our supervision school. And it's really having that dialogue.
What does a straight officer need to know? What tools do we need to give him or her?
You know what? It comes down to this, Stephanie. It's actually simple. It's all about respect. Nobody wants to be offended. And listen, we're going to be dealing with people on the street that are going to be disrespectful no matter what. But in law enforcement, we still have to be respectful. But if we can show respect to everybody, it does not matter what gender identity, whoever they are, race, religion, creed, sexual orientation, it doesn't matter. If we can treat everybody with the same respect, because we all are human, okay, that's the one thing, you can't spell humanity without human. So if we treat everybody like a human, it's going to be okay. And I think that's really what it is. And it really is talking with somebody. If you've never talked with somebody that identifies as LGBTQ+, have a conversation, really, and just learn, because we like to learn from each other.
So could one then apply what you're talking about to race?
Elaborate on that for me.
So with what's going on in the country with racial division,
Oh God, yes, please. I mean, it's that simple. It really is simple, you know. And
I was thinking, it's all about respect.
no, it is, and it's not that difficult. But I will say this, you know, we do have a job to do, but it comes down to treating everybody the right way. And as long as we can do that, everybody will be fine. You know, and I think we're going in the right direction, especially New Jersey. We have some really good stuff going on with Division of State Police and everything else. We have some stuff that we're working on to make the state police better. And I know, you know, we're definitely working in the right direction. And I'm hoping that we get this to all the academies and really train the recruits and train tomorrow's leaders, because they are tomorrow's leaders.
So your spouse is not in law enforcement. Your spouse really didn't have a whole lot of knowledge about law enforcement. So what's it like? How does he deal with having a husband who is out, is kind of the face in many ways of the New Jersey State Police, for an openly gay officer who really, you know, you look at Facebook, we look at you, and you know, you're all over the place. There you are, Fraz Peacock in uniform with half the guys that I know, looking good. What's it like for him? How does it, you know, and this isn't necessarily a gay issue. This is, how does a spouse deal with it with somebody with notoriety?
You know what? He is very, very supportive, and I would not be in this position if it wasn't for him. As we celebrate our 15th year together. So my past relationship was perfect. That ended because I would have never met him, right? So things happen for a reason. But I will say, you know, in the 15 years, he's seen me not come home, you know, during certain shifts. I've been, you know, throughout the country, you know, chasing bad guys. So he doesn't know if I'm coming home that night or what's going to happen. So it's just like every other spouse. When we put on a uniform or we go to work, you never know if your time is up. He has been supportive 100% through and through, and he has no issue with, you know, what I'm doing. Matter of fact, he makes me better. You know, he pushes me and says, "Hey, no, how about this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you know what? I think you're right." But he's, you know, he's a phenomenal person. He's a people person, and so actually, normally when we go out somewhere, 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to lie, that they ask where he's at, not where they don't ask about me. They ask, "Oh, where's your husband at?"
Well, he's much warmer and fuzzier than you are, John.
Yeah.
And you are correct, much more of a people person than you are.
Yeah.
But should God forbid, should you be killed in the line of duty, John, will he be embraced?
You know what? I definitely think he will. And that's the change that we're making today. 20 years ago, no, not at all. You know, if you think about it, you know, the issues from gay marriage and stuff like that everything's happening the right way. If I were to die tomorrow on a job, I personally think that Cliff would definitely be taken care of and respected, and people reach out to him. And again, you know, we just had a housewarming party, and, you know, I brought my husband, and that's the first time she just got to the academy. First time a lot of people met him, you know, so it's, hey, listen, you know, he's my life. He's part of me. If I'm going to go, he's going to go, and you got to accept it. So. And
15 years, you know, to do a journey.
Yeah.
And truly to do some of your harder 15 years. I mean, to be able to be the man that's going to be by your side while you come out, which means that all eyes are on him.
Yeah.
You know, what's our gay trooper's husband? Is he wearing a dress? Right? You know, is
for Halloween. We're cheerleaders.
Both of you suck because both of you have better legs than I do. So it's one of the issues that you'll never see my ass around any of you on Halloween, and you know that. But it's, you know, he's been amazing, and you guys have really figured out how to do what couples have to do, which is communicate in such a way with the challenges that not only face all couples, but also truly breaking down a stigma. It's difficult enough being in a relationship with a law enforcement officer as the traditional heterosexual couple. Add to that a trooper, and now that you're going to be openly gay and do that journey together. Just truly incredible. And 15 years is longer than a lot of cops stay married, period.
And you know what? I wouldn't change a thing. And you really nailed the head when you said, communication. Because in law enforcement, cops, we don't like to talk, and you know that. It's a lot of times we hold things to our chest. And one of the key words that we talk about is flat out say, communicate. Like, something's going on, we got to talk about it. Right. And it works. It really does. So I've been very, very blessed.
What is it that you want kind of people to walk away from this Facebook Live with? And we're going to go ahead and like I said, it's going to be recorded. It gets edited. God bless Robbie and Randy Curtis for doing that for me every damn week. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to put it out. And I'm hoping that there are excerpts of this that you might be able to use to train or what have you. What is it that you want people that are listening, near, far, and what have you, to take away from today?
Really, it's all about, it's okay to be you. It's okay to be who you are and be in law enforcement, no matter who you are, no matter how you love. And if we treat everybody with respect, then everything is going to be fine. Plain and simple. If you are closed-minded and you've never talked to somebody that identifies as LGBTQ+, seek somebody out. Seek us out, because we're willing to train. We're willing to go anywhere there is. We'll train you. We'll have some fun, and we'll create an open dialogue. And really, it's trying to erase that white elephant in the room, because once we start talking about certain things, then guess what? It becomes normalized. And then it's no longer like, it's just, okay, no big deal. Then that's what it is.
And what do you want to tell every chief and every supervisor in the country?
Really, if you have somebody working for you that might be struggling with their identity or anything at all, just be supportive, because you have no idea what they're going through. I will tell you this, good supervision is exactly what my supervisors did when they said, it doesn't matter who you are, I love you, buddy, you're one of us. That's a phenomenal supervisor, and that's what you really should take from this. If you're a chief and you are willing to do it, please appoint somebody as an LGBTQ liaison, because it does make a difference. And it does make a difference in your department, in the community, to have somebody representing you in that community, because there's such a mistrust between the LGBTQ community because of the Stonewall riots and everything that's happened back in the day. We're trying to build that bridge of trust between the police and the LGBTQ community. It's still going on today. We're getting better, but we still have to build that bridge.
And you're right. We can really add in, whether it is racial, whether it is sexual orientation, exactly what you said is truly the crux of what we're trying to do in the country. So I can't thank you enough, John.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, anytime. Your openness, your love of the badge, your love of people, and wanting to leave this world a little bit better is just so evident. So thank you for that. And next week we are going to I'm going to have on the founder and president of Blue Help, which is probably the best known suicide awareness not-for-profit organization right now in the country that's keeping track of officers that are dying by suicide. So please join me next week on StephTherapy911 with Stephanie Samuels at 7 p.m. live Eastern Standard Time. I'm currently in California, so I get all of my time screwed up. And Karen Solomon will be here. So everybody take care. Please be safe. Thank you all for your support. I look forward to hearing from you and seeing you next week.